Hello all, in this video we are going to discuss about Azure Blob storage. So what is Blob storage? It's basically a object storage solution in the cloud. So we'll see what it is. So Azure Blob storage is Microsoft object storage solution for the cloud. So the blob stands for binary large object. So basically it used when we need to store large amount of data. Then we can use blob storage. And what basically in blob storage we use unstructured data, like for example text file, images, videos, etc. So those kind of data which is not unstructured, then we can use those kind of data in a blob storage. So you see, unstructured data is data that doesn't comply to a particular data model or a definition. Like there is no particular data, like database we have particular model in which format we need to store the data. So there is no format basically. So basically totally unstructured data we will store in blob storage. So basically here you can see the list of use cases where we can use for blob storage, like serving images or documents directly to a browser. That means like whenever you create a blob object, you can directly access this particular object with the help of URL on your browser. So you can directly see the content. We will see in a coming demo. Storing file for distributed access. So like so here basically we can define the access level at particular blob level. So like for example I have a three blob basically blob object 1 2 3, and I want to specify blob 1 can have only read permission and blob 2 can have only read and write permission. So those distributed access basically we can provide on blob level. And streaming video and audio, those also, for those purpose also we can use blob storage. Writing to a log files also we can use blob storage, but again blob storage has three types, like so we will see in going forward. Next we have storing data for backup and restore, disaster recovery and archiving. So basically whatever the types we have on blobs, so those types we can use as per our requirement. We will see what all those types going forward. Okay, so basically if you open a Azure portal and you go to a storage account, you will not see a service called blob storage. You will see a service called container. So basically container provide a way to organize a set of blobs. So basically every blob should be a part of container. So for this example, this is my storage account. Under this storage account I have created a container called picture movie. Two containers I have created. Now inside this container basically we are going to upload our blob data, blob object. So this is image 001, image 002. So those are the blob files. So like this we can create it. Next we have how to access objects in blob storage. Like we have created those blob objects. Now how we are going to access those data basically. So here is the options which we can use to access our blob objects. Users or client application can access object in a blob storage via HTTP and HTTPS protocol from anywhere in the world. It's a public URL basically. So each block have its own URL. Objects in blob storage are accessible via Azure Storage REST API, Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI, or an Azure Storage Client libraries. So these are the other ways which we can use to access our blob data. Client libraries are available for different languages. So this Azure Storage Client Library, this is options. For those options basically we have these many client libraries basically which we can use to access our blob objects. Next we have types of blob. So basically I have, as I told, blobs are three types: blobs, append blobs and page blobs. So block blobs for large object that does not use random read and write operations. It means whenever we upload any data on a blob service, so it should not have read and write in between. It should be like from beginning it should be read till end, so there should be no modifications. So for those purpose basically we use blobs. The primary use case for blob is the storage of files that are read from beginning to end, such as media files or image file or websites. And also it has like till 190 TB data we can store in blobs, like till this amount when under a single storage account we can store. Next we have append blobs. So basically append blobs are used to append the data. It basically like that means each time you make the changes to the blob, the data will be appended at the end of the blob. For example, log files, whenever we search anything it will generate a logs and it will append it. So for log files this is the good option to use append blobs. And also append blobs is an ideal for scenario for logging data from virtual machines. So it's a basically logging purpose, basically we use append blobs. Next we have page blob. Page blobs are used to hold random access file up to 8 TB in size, and page blobs can only use the hot tier. They cannot use cool or archive tier. So this is a very important point. When we are going to use create a blob services, then we need to, like as per our requirement need, basically we need to choose those options. And Azure Virtual Machine disk are backed by page blobs. So whatever when we create Azure Virtual Machine in Azure portal, so we need to create a disk file to store our data. So those are backed by page files. So basically to create a page blob, you initialize the page blob and specify the maximum size the page blob will grow. So whenever you are going to create page blobs, you need to specify the particular limit size, like from this till this point my data can be stored here. If it's exceeding that limit, then it will not allow. So there is a maximum limit which we can specify when we generate the page blob. Now suppose we have already existing data and now we need to move those data to a cloud or blob storage. Then how basically we are going to move that data from existing like on-premise environment to the cloud? So these are the options basically which we can use. So first we have Azure copy. So Azure copy is a exe file basically which we need to download on a client machine, and with the help of that we can upload our data in a blob storage. So Azure copy is an easy to use command line tool for Windows and Linux that copy data to and from blob storage, like from blob storage to on-premise and from on-premise to blob storage, like it means cloud. You can upload your data with the help of Azure copy. Next we have the Azure Storage Data Movement Library. Another one we have Azure Data Factory. So it supports copying data to and from blob storage using the account key, a shared access signature, a service principal, a managed identity for Azure resources. So with the help of those things we can use Azure Data Factory as well. Next we have Azure Data Box. So this basically is used when you have huge amount of data and you cannot upload that particular data on a network, on a cloud basically, because due to network issue or something, then Microsoft provide a way. It will send a Azure Data Box to your location and you will copy the data and you will send it back to the Microsoft. Then they will upload it, like they will directly basically add that box on a storage account. So you can directly, it means like you can access the data. Like basically you need to copy the data from one device to this Azure Data Box, and this data box will be plugged to the storage account, whatever you have created. Next we have Azure Import and Export Services. It's also provide a way to import or export large amount of data to and from your storage account using hard drive. So again, it's a physical device basically for this. And Blob Fuse, it's a virtual file system driver, and basically for Linux systems, Linux file system basically, through Linux file system basically we can use to upload our data on a blob storage. Now we will see the demo, like how basically we create a blob service. So those things basically we will see in a demo. Okay, so I am on my Azure portal. here we have a storage account because the blob are part of storage account blob service. So we'll go to storage account. I have demo test one. I've already created one. So under this storage account, we have a data storage, and under data storage we have option containers. As we know, blobs are part of containers. So first thing we need to, before creating any blob, first we need to create a container. So I'll go and create one container here. I'll go test. So the name should be in lowercase. So I'll put small t. Now it's important what public access label. So we have three kinds of private, blob and container. If we specify private, then we cannot see any content of this of our blob data. If we provide blob, we can only see the read, we can see the content, like it's basically anonymous read access for both, for blobs only, it's for container and blob both only. So I'm going with private. Let's see what happens. And then we have an advanced option. If we have defined an encryption scope, then it will be visible here. We don't have any, so I'm leaving it default. Now we'll go for create. So we have created one container. Now in this container we will upload our blob files. So if I go here, we'll select one file. Okay, so I have one image. Okay, if we already have the name with the same, like already we have a file with same name, then we can override it if we want. Now authentication type, either if you have integrated with Azure AD, then you can define Azure AD user account, or account with the help of account key, storage account key, we can also access this particular blob. Blob type, again as we discussed, we already have three kinds, so I'm going for block size. We can define till 100 MB, so we can choose the particular size. I'm leaving default. Access tier, hot, cool and archive, we have all options, so I'm going with hot. Now important part here, upload to a folder. This is our container test. Now under this container, if we want to create a particular directory structure, a particular folder, and we want to upload that blob file under that particular folder, then we can specify here also. So for example, I'm going for test 1. Upload. So it's, as you can see, it's created one folder with the name of test1, and under test1 we have our blob file. As you can see, blob type blob. So now if we need to see this, as I told you, like we can access our blob data over HTTP protocol or HTTPS protocol or REST API. So I'm going from HTTPS. So I'll just click on this, and it will basically, every blob will, whatever the like files you will upload, each file will have their own URL, and it will be separately, basically it will be separated by particular unique identity. So if you can see here, content empty, so it's a hash key basically. So it's basically keep your files with a, like basically it's this unique identity for your blob file. So this is the URL. If I'll go here and search it, so we cannot see any data here. Why? Because if you remember, during this creating this container, we have defined the access label. I have mentioned private, no anonymous access. So I'll just, because here we don't have read options, so I'll go for blob anonymous read access. So I'll go here and click OK. Now again we will try to browse our file. As you can see, so now we can see the files. Okay, so if we want to change the access label, we can change it from here, like it's a blob label, and we can also change that container label basically. So if you select this container label, you can change the access label. It will be applicable for all of your containers. So we will keep it default, and like we will modify only with container label, sorry, blob label. So if you want to change the tier, like we have specified hot tier, if you want to change the access tier type, you can change it from here, like blob label hot cool archive. You can choose as per your requirement. Now we have option for acquire lease. So basically we have, this is the particular lease ID. So successfully acquired lease on the following blobs. While the lease is active, you must include the lease ID with any request to write to the blobs. So if you click on, like, if you take the lease, then whatever the content you are going to update through REST API or through client libraries, then you have to specify the lease ID as well. Then only it will update the content on the particular blob file. So, and if you want to break the lease, you can simply select the file and just break the lease. So no ID will be required when you're trying to access particular blob using any method like REST API or anything. So one more thing. Okay, so in case there are another option, we have diagnose and solve problems. So in case if you find any kind of issues on this particular blob, on particular container, then you can troubleshoot from here. So like in case of authentication authorization issue, firewall issue, so it will basically identify for you like what's the issue, so you are not able to access this particular blob services. Next option we have access control. So it's basically if you want to specify particular user or group to provide access to this particular storage, particular blob, then you can specify from here. If you have like so many roles and all, so you can assign from it here. Like basically it's the place where you can control the access of your blob. Next thing, we have a shared access token. So basically shared access token is also used to access your blob storage. Here you can create a SASS token and assign the permissions like read, write, like whatever the permission you want, you can assign it from here. So, and you can give it so basically it's help you to identify. So basically it's required while you're trying to access your storage account. So like access part you can provide it here also. And storage access policies, this is very important thing. Like if you create a SASS token, and so and you have a specified start and end, like everything you have to manage. Like if for example if you have 10 to 15 SASS token, then you have to manage all the 15 SASS tokens. So it's quite difficult to manage all of them. So to overcome this issue, we have an option again, access policies. So access policies, again we have a two option, stored access policies and immutable blob storage. So we'll see, this is the first, we will see storage access policies. So I'll create one access policy test and I'll select permissions, read or write, and I'll define the duration, like how long we want. So I'll put today date to tomorrow date, and time zone we can select here and click OK. So this policy we have created. So this is called shared access policies. So this helps you, basically it helps you to either override the SASS token, and also if you want, when you're creating the shared access signature, you can simply define the access policy. Like for test one, so if you see I have defined none, then we can see, like we can edit those options, like we can manually define particular address range and all. But if I'll select access policy which we have created, then you can see everything is gray out. So whatever the start and time we have defined under this policy, this will be applicable for this particular SASS token. So again it's for like it's basically to avoid to manage like multiple SASS tokens. So it's easy to create a policy and apply to all of the blobs file. And again another one, we have a immutable blob storage. So basically this policy will help you if you have some legal obligations or something and you don't want to user to like delete or modify any content, any data in your blob file, blobs, then you can use these options. So like we have two types, legal hold and time-based retention. So legal hold, basically we will create one tag here for example test. I'll save it. Now if I'll try to I'll go to overview. So if I'll try to delete this file, it failed because we have this operation is not permitted as the blob is immutable due to one or more legal hold. So this is the option we can specify. And one more thing, other option what we have here, time-based retention, like we can define 10 days. So within 10 days nobody can modify any data on your blob file. So this is the options we can specify from here. Properties, here you can see all the data, like this is the folder level URL which you get. So all this basically data you can see, like all the properties whatever you have defined here, lease duration, lease stage, lease status, and everything you can specify here. Now one more thing, like suppose for example if I'll delete this file, now we have an option, fail to delete, because we have applied the access policies. So first thing I need to remove this policy. I'll just delete it, otherwise you will not be able to delete. So I'll go to overview, so now I'll try to delete this file. So I think one more policy we have. I'll go to an access policy. We don't have any policy. I'll just refresh my page because it takes some time to revert back the changes. So I'll again go to it's deleted. For example, like this is I have deleted to show you. So suppose by accidental if you are deleting any content, so we remembered in a storage account topic we have a data management. So if you can see here, you can see the deleted content here, and from here you just select so here you can undelete the file and it will restore back to your container basically. So how this is happening, we'll go to storage account, containers. So under storage account we have a option data management, data protection. So here we have defined the policies, 7 days, like enable soft delete for containers, enable soft delete for blobs. So if I'll uncheck those policies and I'll save it, now we will see if we can recover our data, like restored back to the previous stage basically. So I'll just going to test, I'll just delete this complete folder. Test one, this file I'm going to delete. Now you can see, we can see here the deleted options, but when we're trying to undelete, successfully undeleted one object. Let me refresh it again. So as you can see, if I'll click on show deleted blobs, we cannot see any items because we have changed this policy, like we have disabled the soft delete options. So that's why we are not able to recover it back. So that was data protection. See, we have disabled, like unchecked those options. So that's the reason we are not able to revert back. So again, I'll just keep it default, save. So this is all about containers, basically blobs. I think we have covered all of this, all of the properties, all of the components. So I think that's all for today. See you in next video. Thank you all.